another video, and today we have a very interesting, very different type of video. This is something that I put a ton of time and effort into. I've been working on this presentation over the last 3 or 4 days or so, fleshing it out and figuring it out, putting a lot of time into it. And this is going to be what I would do if I was in charge of the announced reboot of the DC Cinematic Universe. It was recently announced that DC is canceling a bunch of projects and stuff, and they want to reboot their cinematic universe with a 10-year plan, sort of similar to what Marvel has been doing. So they brought in a new head guy, and DC Studios has been formed as an independent entity outside of Warner Brothers. So I made this slideshow of what I would do if I were the one tasked with creating the DC Cinematic Universe. And this is going to be a very long video, so I don't want to take too much more time. Let's hop into it. As you can see here, here's my splash screen. It says My DC Cinematic Universe. This is going to be 3 phases of films, 20 films total. And obviously there is room to go beyond phase 3 like Marvel has been doing. But I could have been going on indefinitely, and I did not want to do that. So I only did the first 20 films, and these first few are pretty simplistic, not a lot of details, but it gets more detailed as we go on. So phase 1, we introduce our heroes, we establish our world, and we set up big bads for phase 2. This is basically the world building stage. And I think what we have to get right, and what has been the biggest struggle getting right, is what we are starting with, and that is Superman. The very first movie is going to be called Superman, and we need to establish the tone right away. Superman is hopeful, and he is optimistic. He is not this brooding, dark, moody character. And I think you need to bring back the John Williams theme song. The storyline here, I have that John Kent, Superman's adopted father, he is dying of terminal cancer, and Superman sees the limits of his powers because he can't do anything to save his life, regardless of him being able to fly, how strong he is. So he is struggling with that dichotomy there, and you have a real internal conflict with Superman, and that is the key message of this film, is that internal struggle with Superman. The external struggle, I'm just bringing in not a really big popular villain, because the villain isn't the main aspect of this film, but a lab experiment gone wrong creates Parasite, who can absorb the strength and powers of others. So you'll have Parasite fighting Superman, and Superman basically has to learn that he can't touch him, because every time he touches Parasite, he gets stronger. So he has to use, his other abilities to defeat Parasite. Not a huge, massive threat, but because that's not the focus of the film. And then obviously we're also going to introduce Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen in this first Superman film, get them established. Also, this is not an origin movie. I want Superman to be Superman when this movie starts. We've seen Superman's origins, we've seen Batman's origins, all that stuff so many times. I don't want to rehash it. We're getting right into things. And then I also wrote a post-credit scene for every movie, because Marvel established the post-credit scene. We're keeping their tradition alive. In the post-credit scene for Superman, we see Batman sitting at his supercomputer in the Batcave, and he is watching footage of Superman defeating Parasite and flying around the city and stuff, news footage, helicopter footage, stuff like that. And then we see, like, a second monitor, we pan over, and we see Clark Kent. So it's Superman in his disguise, and we can kind of put it together that Batman has figured out that Superman and Clark Kent are the same person. That's our post-credit scene. Our second film is Wonder Woman. I don't know a ton about Wonder Woman, so we're kind of copying the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman plot a little bit. Again, this is just a setup film. Steve Trevor crash lands on Themyscira. Diana takes him home to Earth, or to the mainland, and she fights in World War II against Germany. The main point of this film is to show Diana is a strong and inspiring rallying voice, because that's the role that she's going to play in the Justice League. She's going to, spurn them forward and, drive them to to rise above the challenges. That'll be her role. The villain of this movie is Armageddon. Armageddon's like an axe-wielding Nazi. I just thought it'd be interesting to bring in Armageddon just as a cool character to fight against, and then of course the Nazis in general. The post-credits scene for this film is Non and Ursa, who are two of General Zod's minions, come into General Zod's chambers. Whether that's like a spaceship or something, whatever, but just his room. And they tell him that their trackers have found the location of Kal-El's escape pod. So we're setting up General Zod to be a future villain here. We established that General Zod is trying to find Superman, and now we know that General Zod is coming to get Superman. Our third film is going to be called The Caped Crusader. I struggled with what to name this film. We just had a movie called Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. We have Batman with Michael Keaton, so I didn't want to just call it Batman or The Batman. I considered calling it The Dark Knight, but then you are drawing direct comparisons to the Heath Ledger film, and I don't think you want to do that. So I decided to name this The Caped Crusader. Again, this is not an origin story. I do not want to do a Batman origin story again. We don't need to see his parents die. We don't need to see him become Batman. He's gonna be Batman already. Also, I'm bringing Robin into this world. We have never gotten a good Robin on the big screen, and I'm determined to do that and to see that. So we're gonna have Tim Drake as Batman's Robin in this. And he's gonna be a teenager, like 15, 16, 17 years old, something like that, maybe 18, but I want a teenage Robin, Tim Drake, in this. The story of the Caped Crusader is going to focus on Batman stopping Deathstroke, who's been hired to assassinate Gotham's political leadership, and basically taunting Batman and trying to show the city that Batman is unable to protect the most important people there. I really want to focus in this one on Batman's detective skills and combat skills, and differentiate him from the Batman that we have seen on film so far. I really want to channel the Rocksteady video game version of Batman. Very acrobatic, athletic, uses a lot of high-tech gadgetry to infiltrate and solve crimes and stuff. With regards to the bat suit, I want it to be fabric, kind of like the one you see there on the right. I want a classic style bat suit. Also, I want to establish that Batman does not kill. The villain in this will be Deathstroke, and at the end, Batman puts Deathstroke away in jail instead of killing him, showing that moral choice that he chooses to make. The post-credit scene for the Caped Crusader will show Deathstroke sitting in his jail cell, and the Talon will appear and kill him stealthily, and this introduces the concept of the Court of Owls into our world. Also, we're not going to do a Joker movie because this is an expanded universe. Joker's been done so many times. We've had multiple iconic performances of the Joker. I don't want to try and draw comparisons there. We might make allusions to the fact that Batman has faced off against the Joker in the past, but he will not be doing that in this cinematic universe. Now on to our fourth film and our first team-up film, Trinity. Trinity. This is our Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman team-up film. Just the three of them before we get a Justice League. So the storyline here, General Zod and the Kryptonians land in Antarctica. He declares that Earth is New Krypton and tells Non and Ursa to find Kal-El. Batman, tracking the seismic activity, goes to Metropolis and confronts Clark Kent at work, revealing that he knows his secret identity. Batman and Superman go to Antarctica, confront Zod. He wants to terraform Earth into a new Krypton. Zod and Superman are physical equals, but Zod is more skilled in combat. Superman and Batman are forced to retreat. Show that, Zod has the years of experience that Superman does not have, and he can outsmart him, he can out-tactic him. Batman discovers kryptonite, creates a kryptonite weapon for himself to use. Wonder Woman will appear in the Batcave. She finds them, tracks them, something, but Wonder Woman makes her way into the Batcave. She joins Superman and Batman. Non and Ursa, who've been sent out to find Superman, they discover Martha Kent. Zod uses, Martha to lure out Superman, and he tries to recruit him, saying, he could help him rule over Earth, make him, part of New Krypton, all this stuff, trying to get him to turn against Batman and Wonder Woman, turn against Earth. When Superman refuses to join Zod, he is going to kill Martha Kent. So Superman has now lost both of his adoptive parents. Martha Kent gets killed by General Zod. The Trinity work together to defeat the Kryptonians, and Batman convinces Superman not to kill Zod out of revenge. So this is in contrast to Man of Steel. I want to show that difference, establish it. Superman has Zod dead to rights. He's going to kill him, maybe even snap his neck, like he did in the Man of Steel. But Batman convinces him not to kill Zod. Superman flies away to the Arctic and creates his Fortress of Solitude using ice breath. The villains in this film will be Zod and the Kryptonians. And our post-credit scene, there'll be a helicopter that comes in, and you see it's landing at the ruins of the Kent farm. Lex Luthor comes out of the helicopter. He gets handed a vial of Kryptonian blood by a scientist, establishing Lex Luthor in her world. And obviously he has some plans that are not going to be good for Superman in particular here. But I think this is an important film before we get to the Justice League, where we show the three main characters, the biggest names of the Justice League, the original three working together, show that relationship before we bring in anybody else. Now for our fifth and final film of Phase 1, we have Green Lantern. And in my DC Cinematic Universe, our Green Lantern is going to be Kyle Rayner. And that is for a few reasons. Hal Jordan has been a little bit played out, and I have other plans for Hal Jordan that you'll see later. Kyle Rayner, younger. He's very creative with his Green Lantern constructs, Hal Jordan makes fists and missiles and things like that, but Kyle Rayner is very creative, and, with CGI, we could really have Kyle Rayner making some really interesting and visually cool Green Lantern constructs. Also, Kyle Rayner has this very powerful ability to overcome fear, and that is going to be important for his storyline. So the story of Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner is a struggling actor living in Coast City, which is DC's version of Los Angeles. Introduce him as somebody who is fearful. He has a lot of fear. He's kind of a meek guy, but even though he is fearful and he is very, anxious, maybe even depressed, we show him overcoming that fear to do the right thing when he needs to. And I think it'd be cool to show that Kyle Rayner is inspired by Superman. Maybe he has a Superman poster on his wall, or he wears a Superman t-shirt or something like that. He's gonna get his green power ring after stepping in to stop a woman from being assaulted. He gets beaten up badly, like kicked, hit, barely conscious, but because they focus on him and beat him up, it allows her to get away safely. As he's laying there, a guardian comes to him, gives him the green power ring. Sinestro comes to Earth to find the last Green Lantern, referring to Kyle Rayner. Uses his fear to fight and momentarily overpower Rayner, but Kyle uses his ability to overcome his fear to beat back Sinestro, who is forced to leave Earth. We'll learn that Sinestro and Parallax have wiped out the Green Lantern Corps. They have destroyed Oa, and Kyle is the last living member of the Green Lantern Corps. The villain in this film is Sinestro, but in the post-credit scene, we will have Sinestro standing in front of a big throne, defeated, bloodied, bruised, and he says that he is not strong enough to defeat the new Green Lantern. The throne is going to turn, and we are going to see Hal Jordan as Parallax, and he says, then I will do it. So we're establishing that Hal Jordan is in this world. Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern that most people know and love. But we're pulling in the storyline from when Hal Jordan becomes Parallax. And he's already evil. He's already Parallax, the embodiment of fear, as of the start of this cinematic universe. So that's the end of Phase 1. Now we move into Phase 2. The point of Phase 2 is to expand the roster. Bring in higher tier villains, up the ante a bit. We're going to form the Justice League, and we are going to establish a universal threat. A universal threat. Our 6th film, the first film in Phase 2, is a sequel to Superman, called Superman, the Last Son of Krypton. Superman, now having lost both of his adopted parents, feels lost, struggling with having to be a symbol of hope for Earth while feeling hopeless internally. This will be a big part of where Lois Lane steps in, and we see the relationship between Lois and Clark and how she keeps his spirits high, and she keeps him, spurned on, being that good symbol, not letting him succumb to any darkness or any negative feelings. And I want to show that people are worshiping Superman like a god. His image is everywhere, posters, pictures, everything. People wearing his symbol, like t-shirts, necklaces, whatever, tattoos even. Lex Luthor, jealous and threatened by Superman, wants to discredit him and turn public opinion against him. Using the Kryptonian blood from the farm, he creates a clone of Superman, an imperfect clone, and this is Bizarro. But the clone's going to be fitted with cybernetics, mind control devices, making sure it listens to Luthor's orders. So we're kind of doing a mix of Bizarro and Cyborg Superman into one here. Bizarro is ordered to go to Central City and level it. So Central City, this brings in the Flash, because that's where he lives. The Flash is introduced. He tries to stop Bizarro himself, thinking oh, that looks like Superman. But he's forced to retreat after almost being killed. Superman shows up, meets the Flash. He fights back and defeats Bizarro with the help of the Flash. But in the aftermath, in the combat, they are unable to stop the city from being destroyed. The public, seeing what sort of damage Superman and powerful beings like him can do, start to turn against him and demand that the government does something to rein in superheroes. Our villains are going to be Bizarro, and then behind the scenes, Lex Luthor. Superman is not yet aware of Lex Luthor. Post-credit scene here, just going to establish the Flash, cleaning up Central City, rebuilding houses, businesses, stuff like that, and Green Lantern's going to show up and help him out. That's our post-credit scene, so that's our start of Phase 2. Next film, Film 7, The Flash. So we just get introduced to The Flash. I don't know a ton about The Flash, so I'm not going to have a ton to say about this, but I want to focus on Barry Allen trying to rebuild Central City to the events of Superman 2, while, dealing with the anti-superhero sentiment that's starting to, fester and build. I want, in the story here, the Rogues, I want to bring in Captain Cold and Heatwave as the villains. Fire and Ice, that sort of thing. I think it's just an interesting concept. And Captain Cold and Heatwave, these two villains, they're using the fact that the city is in this state of disrepair, that there's sort of a power vacuum, police and services and things like that aren't really operating effectively, and they're using that for their criminal gain. So it'll be Flash, helping rebuild the city while defeating Captain Cold and Heatwave. And then the post-credit scene, we're going to have Lex Luthor standing at a podium in front of news cameras, hundreds of onlookers. He's going to announce his intentions to run for president of the United States. And we're going to have a very anti-superhero platform. So he's going to be like, if I'm president, we'll get these superheroes under control. I'll make sure that, people like Superman can never destroy your cities ever again. That'll be the sort of thing Lex Luthor is saying. Our 8th film, Batman, A Family Affair. Batman and Robin are struggling while trying to deal with multiple villains who are coordinating attacks across Gotham City on the same night. Batman has to accept that he isn't infallible, that he can be wrong about some things, and he has to make amends with Dick Grayson, ask him to come back to Gotham to save the city. So, not a super high-stakes film, but I want to establish Nightwing as a character in this world. So we have Batman, we have Dick Grayson as Nightwing, and Tim Drake as Robin. That's your Bat family. Show that there is some strain in the past between Batman and Dick Grayson. Maybe we'll establish that through flashbacks or dialogue or something, but Batman has to basically apologize, convince Nightwing to come help him, and the three work together to defeat 3 villains who are operating on the same night. The villains in this film will be Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, and Mr. Freeze. I picked those 3 because it feels like they're villains who would consider working together, and they can both cause environmental damage that can be really catastrophic. Scarecrow with his poison gas and fear toxin and stuff, and Poison Ivy with her plants and vines, and Mr. Freeze with his ice. It's 3 very unique threats that they have to work to stop from destroying the city. And then the post-credit scene, we get Timothy Drake out of his Robin costume, living life, college student, his alter ego. He is ambushed and kidnapped by Talon and other owls from the Court of Owls. So Timothy Drake, he gets kidnapped, so now Robin, he's in danger, and that's going to be, something that we deal with coming up later. Our 9th film. This is going to be kind of our Guardians of the Galaxy type tonal shift film. This is Starfire and Raven. This is going to be a more lighthearted film. I wanted to really focus on the relationship between Starfire and Raven and their life in college and their life, becoming friends and having like I said, I want this to be like the tone of Guardians of the Galaxy, and what a departure that was. That's going to be Starfire and Raven. So Raven and Starfire live double lives as Corey Anders and Rachel Roth, who are college students in San Francisco. The two find out each other's secret identity over the course of the film and help each other work through their past trauma, which eventually leads to them helping each other fight the perpetrators of that trauma. And this film also works to introduce the concept of magic into my DC cinematic universe. So, if you didn't know, like, Raven, she was, like, created through this ritual with Trigon, and her soul was put into a body. Starfire, her and her sister Blackfire were, like, princesses on this planet. They were captured and experimented upon, which activated their powers. And, you know, they're basically tortured. So you have these two women who have gone through, like, this really bad trauma in their past, and they find each other and help each other work through that internally and externally. The villains in this film will be Blackfire and Trigon, which people might get upset that Trigon gets dispensed, you know, in one film. He should be a bigger threat, but I think you can make it work here. The post-credit scene here, Raven and Starfire hang out together when Nightwing appears behind them in the shadows. He asks them if they're ready to get serious about fighting evil. So, kind of establishing a Teen Titans thing here. You have Nightwing, you know, Dick Grayson, you have Starfire, you have Raven. You're like, oh, well, we're starting to get closer to a Teen Titans type team here, aren't we? So he's obviously recruiting them to, you know, join the team, so to speak. But I think this could be a really interesting change of pace, and this was like, when I thought of this idea, it was kind of a eureka moment for me. So that's the 9th film, the second to last film, no, the third to last, yeah, I don't remember, maybe they're in phase 2, but Starfire and Raven. Our 10th film, Green Lantern, Emerald Knight, our sequel to our Green Lantern film. Kyle Rayner has been exploring the universe looking for answers to what happened to the Green Lantern Corps. He comes upon the ruin of Oa. He's confronted by a group of Yellow Lanterns who he, defeats, finds the central power battery, the green power battery, completely drained. Kyle is confronted by Parallax, Hal Jordan. He explains that he ripped Ion from the battery, destroyed the Green Lantern Corps, killed everybody, destroyed Oa. Kyle barely escapes his life, sets out to find Ion. He eventually does. Ion embodies Kyle Rayner, and he's able to use that limitless well of willpower to defeat Hal Jordan. Not kill him, but defeat Hal Jordan. He restores Ion to the central power battery, and he convinces Hal Jordan to give up the ways the Yellow Lantern, come back to being a good guy, come back to being a Green Lantern. Hal will show Kyle Rayner the power of the White Lantern ring, and using the White Lantern ring, Kyle will restore Oa and bring the Green Lantern Corps back to life. Details may be a little bit dicey there. You have to, tread carefully, especially, with bringing people back to life and introducing a power like that into the universe. But I think if you could establish that's like a one-time thing or only very limited uses, that it would be good. The villain in this film will be Parallax, Hal Jordan, but who eventually becomes a good guy. In the post-credit scene, Kyle Rayner flying back to Earth after leaving Oa. He encounters the remnants of a destroyed planet. He searches through the ruins of the planet, finds only one survivor, the Martian Manhunter. So the Martian Manhunter is now being introduced to our world, and we will see exactly who destroyed his planet. And now our 11th film, our final film of Phase 2, the Justice League. Finally, 11 films in, we finally get the Justice League. So storyline here, as Lex Luthor surges in the polls, anti-superhero sentiments at an all-time high. Behind the scenes, he has been perfecting his experimentation with Kryptonian DNA and created his ultimate weapon, Doomsday. So now we're bringing in Doomsday, one of Superman's greatest villains, one of the strongest characters in DC, one that we've seen on screen before, but I want to do better. Doomsday will have armored scales made of kryptonite because he is tailor-made to defeat Superman. Because Lex Luthor doesn't really consider the Justice League. Lex Luthor is focused on Superman, so he doesn't really care about anybody else, their strengths and weaknesses. He's just focused on defeating Superman. Green Lantern brings the Martian Manhunter to the Fortress of Solitude, and Martian Manhunter is going to talk about Darkseid, who destroyed his planet, and he is going to come and destroy Earth as well as all life. So we have now introduced the idea of Darkseid as the big bad threat into our universe. Superman summons Batman, Wonder Woman, the Flash to discuss, what he's just heard from Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern. As they're talking, Doomsday starts destroying Metropolis. As you can see in the bottom right corner there, I edited that classic Justice League photo, photoshopped out Aquaman, who, for the record, does not make an appearance in this universe. I do not have an Aquaman here. It's just these six as the Justice League for now. The six heroes face off Doomsday, and it takes the combined strength of all six of them to just barely defeat Doomsday. However, Kyle Rayner is killed. So Doomsday is going to kill Kyle Rayner because I want to establish that death means something in this DC universe. Our heroes are not immortal. They can't have a moon dropped on their head and survive it. They can and they will die, and they're going to stay dead, unlike what happens in Marvel films. So Kyle Rayner is going to die facing Doomsday, and Batman is going to reveal to the world that Lex Luthor was behind the creation of both Doomsday and Bizarro. In the past, Lex Luthor is going to be arrested, and the Justice League announces themselves publicly to the world as defenders of Earth, kind of bringing public opinion back around to their side and showing that, all the negativity towards them was all being falsely constructed. Superman, having faced terrible injuries and almost being killed by Doomsday because he was, covered in kryptonite and had super strength, is forced to leave Earth and spend an extended amount of time in the heart of a yellow star. Superman, gets his power from the yellow sun, so he has to leave Earth, just hanging on by a thread and sit in the center of a sun for an extended period of time, and he will not come back until later, towards the end of Phase 3. The villains in the Justice League are Doomsday and Lex Luthor. And there's going to be 2 post-credit scenes in this one. This is the only time we're doing 2 post-credit scenes. In the first post-credit scene, Darkseid stands amongst the remnants of another destroyed planet. Steppenwolf, his main general, approaches him and informs him of a group of superpowered beings on planet Earth. So Darkseid now knows about the Justice League because they just made a public, proclamation of who they are to the world. Second post-credit scene, the Justice League without Superman are in the Fortress of Solitude. The Fortress of Solitude is going to serve as the Justice League headquarters through the entirety of this cinematic universe. Batman gets notification that somebody is just outside. He pulls up the camera feed for the front of the Fortress of Solitude, and there we see Hal Jordan standing outside the door in the camera feed, and he's going to tell him that it looks like they need a new Green Lantern. So Kyle Rayner is killed by Doomsday, but we still have a Green Lantern because Hal Jordan, who has come back, he's a good guy again, has now joined the Justice League and filled the role of Green Lantern. So that was Phase 2, 6 films in Phase 2, 5 films in Phase 1, and now we come to Phase 3. In Phase 3, we are consolidating the teams. We are strengthening the relationships between our heroes. we're defeating Darkseid, and we're looking to the future. So we're setting some things up. Phase 3 gets crazy, and we start off with Diana, Queen of the Amazons. This is our sequel to our Wonder Woman film. Wonder Woman is summoned to Themyscira, where her mother, Queen Hippolyta, is dying. Diana must wrestle with her newfound title of Queen, while living a life so far away from her native land and people. So she's going to be struggling because, she lives in America. She's operating out of the Fortress of Solitude in Antarctica. But she is the queen of Themyscira, the Amazon, thousands of miles away. Her people need her, but she can't be there. So she's struggling with that. How can she be in two places at once? What is her true obligation? Eventually, Ares, the god of war, and his minions attack the island, and after repelling him and his army, Diana chooses to stay in Themyscira and be a full-time queen of the island and fill her mother's role. So Superman is now off in some star, and Diana is saying, hey, I need to be queen. The villains for this will be Ares, the god of war, and also Cheetah. I don't really know where Cheetah will fit in. You might change her character a little bit to have her working for Ares as something, but, she is one of the iconic Wonder Woman villains. So I think it's important to bring her in. The post-credit scene for Diana, Queen of the Amazons would be, we're in a high school classroom, the bell rings. Teacher tells everyone to settle down, starts taking attendance. The teacher's calling out names, calls out Billy Batson. Nothing. He looks up, looks around the classroom. He asks again, Billy Batson. Cut to black. So right there we are introducing Shazam, Billy Batson, into our DC cinematic universe. Now our 13th film. This is probably going to be one of the darkest films in the series. Maybe the second darkest. The end gets very dark. In the Court of Owls, Tim Drake has been missing for a month. Batman has been scouring the city streets looking for any hint of where he could be. Eventually, his dead body is left on the doorstep of Wayne Manor. But that tells, Bruce a few things. That whoever did this knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, because they left him at Wayne Manor. Bruce Wayne, Batman, he brings in Nightwing, and together they have to face off against a massive conspiracy that touches every corner of Gotham's power structure, both of them almost dying but growing closer in the process. Pretty light on plot synopsis there, but this would be very dark, Basically, I want a lot of paranoia in this. Batman can't trust anybody. He cannot trust anybody. Because anybody could be involved, and we want to show this far-reaching, multi-generational conspiracy that is playing out here. And, I want to have that scene, Batman stabbed through the back of the chest by Talon, all these things, he nearly dies in this film. Both he and Nightwing are barely going to make it out of this alive. The villains for the Court of Owls will be Talon, and then the Court of Owls itself. The post-credit scene for this film is Superman floating at the center of a star. We just see him floating there, eyes closed, resting. We see his body is slowly healing. He still is not completely recovered from his wounds. But we'll hear, off screen, we don't see who's saying it, but we hear a woman's voice calling out. It'll say, Kal-El, Kal-El, and Superman will open his eyes. So we don't know who the voice is, but obviously she's able to talk to him while in the star, and she knows his name is Kal-El. So we're setting something up there. 13th film, Court of Owls, takes us to 14, which is Shazam. I do not know a ton about Shazam, so this one is also pretty light on the plot. But this is going to be our Shazam origin story, probably following fairly closely to the film that just came out a few years ago because that was pretty well received. We want to show him getting his powers and how they work, and he will become the Superman for Fawcett City, which is like Cleveland for the DC universe, as he faces off against a powerful witch that's been terrorizing the city. Again, we established magic with Raven in this universe, so at this point it shouldn't really be a thing. We have magic. We know magic exists. Billy Batson's powers are magical in nature. He's facing off against a magical villain, a witch named Sabina Delacroix, who he has faced off against in the comics a few times. I think it could be a very interesting, way to bring the character into the world. The post-credit scene for Shazam, Billy Batson will be walking home from school as Billy Batson, not as Shazam. Large limousine's gonna pull up on the curb. Window rolls down. What do you know? It's Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne tells Billy Batson, get in the limo. So Bruce Wayne obviously knows that Billy Batson and Shazam are the same person, just as he found out Clark Kent and Superman were the same person. And this is important because Shazam has very similar powers to Superman. Strength-wise, he's very much a Superman type figure, and he will be filling that Superman role until Superman gets back after he's been fully recovered. So that is our 14th film, Shazam, which brings us to our 15th, Titans. Nightwing, Raven, and Starfire are in the process of building their base of operations in San Francisco. So, Nightwing convinced Raven and Starfire that, hey, let's get together, let's do some good together. Batman tells Nightwing he's stopping by, and he brings Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, Superman's cousin, who Clark told to seek out Batman. So, it's revealed that the voice Superman heard while he was recovering, that was Supergirl, and he told her, go to Earth, go to Antarctica, find Batman, he'll know what to do. So we have now introduced Supergirl into this cinematic universe, and she has now joined the Titans. So our Titans are Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Supergirl. Those are our 4 heroes in the Titans. An assassin from the Church of Blood, I think it's actually the Cult of Blood, attempts to kidnap Raven in the middle of the night, wanting to use her to resurrect Trigon. So we bring back Trigon, her father, and they're trying to use her, extract her life force, her powers, to bring back Trigon, the demon. The Titans, now with Kara as a member, discover the mysteries of the deadly Cult of Blood and protect Raven from their schemes. Along the way, they will find Cyborg, and he will be brought into the team. So, we have Cyborg now. I'm not bringing in Beast Boy. Supergirl is our Beast Boy villain. So we've now established the Titans as a superhero group, and it's Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Supergirl, Cyborg. It's a pretty cool and powerful group of heroes, and this one could be very cool. I think it could get really dark in some places. The Cult of Blood trying to make Raven turn evil. Maybe she even goes into hell and struggles with trying to remain good as the other heroes are fighting back this cult. So our villains are the Cult of Blood and Trigon. In the post-credit scene for Titans, a ship is slowly approaching Earth. Inside, we see Steppenwolf staring out the window menacingly. In his hand will be a mother box. So we're establishing Steppenwolf. As a villain and setting him up coming to Earth. Okay, our next film, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. This is going to be a prequel because we want to show the backstory of Hal Jordan now that he's a part of the team. So chronologically, this is probably the second film, because Wonder Woman takes place in World War II, so this is the second film probably, if you go chronological order. Prequel film showing Hal Jordan being a fighter pilot in the Navy, maybe part of the Top Gun program, getting his Green Lantern ring, and being mentored by Sinestro, when Sinestro was a good guy, considered one of, if not the greatest Green Lantern ever, before Sinestro becomes a Yellow Lantern. So this film will show the fall of Sinestro, and we will show Hal giving into that fear, removing Ion from the central power battery, and becoming Parallax. We'll also show Hal destroying Oa, and destroying and killing the Green Lantern Corps. So this movie does not have a happy ending. This movie shows Hal Jordan's rise as the Green Lantern, and then his fall to darkness and becoming, I think, the most evil being in the Green Lantern mythos. That's how this film ends, is him standing amongst a field of destruction that he is responsible for. The villain in this is Sinestro. In the post-credit scene, we see the modern-day Justice League again without Superman and without Wonder Woman. They're at the Fortress of Solitude, so it's just Batman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. They start getting alerts about something very large approaching Earth. So obviously this is the ship with Steppenwolf that's incoming. Bruce tells the others that something big is coming and that they need to get Wonder Woman. So we're establishing this is a big threat. We need to go get one of our heavy hitters. Go get Diana. 17th film. Justice League Apocalypse. This is the big one. This is our Infinity War equivalent. Steppenwolf comes to Earth with the Mother Box, and using it and the boom tubes, brings an army of parademons with him. Batman and Shazam go to Themyscira to bring back Wonder Woman. The Justice League, obviously without Superman, confronts Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf comes to the revelation that Shazam holds the key to the anti-life equation. So I know the anti-life equation, there's been a few different ways that it's been held over the years. In the Justice League film, it was carved into the Earth's surface. There's been a few superheroes who have known it, but the way I'm going to do the anti-life equation is that the magic that created Shazam will be the life equation or something similar, and that by extracting that from Shazam and doing the opposite of it, that is the anti-life equation. That isn't anything that's happened in the comics before, but I feel like it's a way that will work on the screen, and it creates high stakes because now Shazam is in danger. The Justice League is beaten back by Steppenwolf and the Parademons, so just Steppenwolf is beating back the Justice League. Shazam, Wonder Woman, all these people. Steppenwolf, not even Darkseid, is beating them. But after calling in the Titans, so bring in Supergirl, Raven, Starfire, Nightwing, Cyborg, they're able to defeat Steppenwolf and the Parademons. So Steppenwolf, dead, defeated, whatever. Just as they think the day is saved, another boom tube opens and Darkseid steps through. And Darkseid's not messing around. All of them, the Justice League and the Titans, go attack Darkseid, but he just tosses them aside like toys, doesn't even care about them. He easily beats back the combined strength of the Justice League and the Titans, focusing on Shazam. So they're all trying to help Shazam. They're all rushing Darkseid. He does not care. He's tossing him around and just pummeling Shazam. Darkseid kills and absorbs the magic of Shazam, giving him the answer to the anti-life equation. So he'll, hold Shazam by the throat, maybe snap his neck or something, and all of Shazam's power will surge into Darkseid. And all a moment where he was looking and understanding it, and boom, he has the anti-life equation. Darkseid uses it, plunging the Earth into darkness and unleashing waves of parademons from the sky. The Justice League and the Titans are forced to flee, but the Flash is killed in the process by Omega Factor. So the Flash dies, and because we want to see the Omega Factor, I'm thinking we have Flash running like as fast as he can using the Speed Force, but we see the I-beams coming out of Darkseid, and they're keeping pace with him. No matter how fast the Flash is running, he cannot outrun the Omega beams, and eventually it hits him and kills him. So the Flash, dead. The villains for this, Darkseid, Steppenwolf, and the Parademons. Post-credits scene, we have a long shot of the sun, nothing happening for a very long time, till a small speck appears, gradually gets closer to the camera, and boom, it's Superman. 18th film, direct sequel to Justice League Apocalypse, and that is Justice League New Genesis, using the names of Apocalypse and New Genesis, the homes of the new gods, the old gods, as taglines there. This takes place just mere moments after the last film ends. It immediately leads into the next movie. No time jump. The Justice League and the Titans are back at the Fortress of Solitude, recovering, licking their wounds, getting over the death of Flash, mourning him, whatever. We talk about the strength of the Omega Factor, the Omega Beams, talk about how fast it is, how it kills you instantly, establish how dangerous Darkseid is. Raven will tell them about Darkseid being a new god. So, because her father, Trigon, is a devil, she's part demon, she would probably know about the gods, so we'll have Raven being the source of exposition here. About Darkseid being a new god, and how only the metal Radion, which in my cinematic universe, Radion is found at the center of the Mother Box, it's part of the energy source for the Mother Box, can kill him. The group devise a plan to get the Mother Box and use the Radion to kill Darkseid. But now that the anti-life equation has been activated and the world has been plunged into darkness and humanity is starting to be enslaved, Darkseid has called in two of his other generals, Desaad and Kalibak, to bring in more bad guys here, big guys, that are going to cause problems for the team. Desaad and Kalibak have come through in boom tubes. The Titans split off from the Justice League to defeat Desaad and Kalibak, as well as their parademon armies. So, Supergirl, Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Cyborg, they are fighting Desaad and Kalibak. While the Justice League go to confront Darkseid and get the Mother Box, they'll be fighting Darkseid, not doing too well, but Superman will show up, and Superman helps turn the tide of battle, keeps Darkseid distracted, keeps him occupied, because Darkseid has to actually, try to fight Superman. He can't just toss him aside like he can the others, so Superman is keeping Darkseid occupied, while Batman gets to the Mother Box and he crafts a bullet made out of Radion, out of the core of the Mother Box. This is a callback to the Final Crisis storyline, if any of you are familiar with that, where Batman makes a gun that shoots a Radion bullet to kill Darkseid. During the fighting, Martian Manhunter will be killed. Okay, so Martian Manhunter, he's dead too. The Flash is dead, Martian Manhunter is dead. Batman approaches Darkseid, who notices at the final moment, after Batman has already raised the gun, that he's doing it because he was so distracted with Superman. We know that the Omega Factor is just as fast as Flash using the Speed Force. Darkseid fires his I-beams right as Batman pulls the trigger. The bullet hits Darkseid in the head, killing him, but the beams hit Batman at the same time, instantly killing Batman. The Earth is restored to normal, and the population populace is removed from Darkseid's mental enslavement, Titans come to the battlefield as Superman comes out carrying Batman's body. So they all show up like excited and happy they all lived, but out comes Superman carrying Batman's corpse, and I think you can have a big moment there where Nightwing like breaks down seeing Bruce dead. Because he also, just a few months ago, lost Tim Drake as well. Wonder Woman at the end of the film will return to Themyscira and take up, her job as queen again. The villains for this film would be Darkseid, Desaad, Callback, and the Parademons. And in the post-credit scene, you have Dick Grayson sitting in the Batcave staring at the Batsuit on the wall, and Alfred would come up to him and say he would want you to wear that. But again, I want death in this universe. I want it to matter. I want it to be permanent. We killed Kyle Rayner. We killed the Flash. We killed Martian Manhunter. We killed Shazam. And we killed Bruce Wayne as Batman. And those characters are not coming back. They're not. 19th film, the second to last film in Phase 3, Batman and Superman, World's Finest. This film is a prequel film that takes place after the events of Trinity. So this is taking place between Trinity and Green Lantern before the events of the Superman sequel. So someplace between Phase 1 and Phase 2 is when this takes place chronologically. And I want to make this after the death of Batman to really drive it home. I was thinking of putting this film earlier at the end of Phase 1, but I feel like it makes more sense here. So this is Batman and Superman, World's Finest. This shows the relationship between Batman and Superman, their strained dynamic, as well as their respect for each other as they work together to stop Metallo. And in this universe, Metallo will be a killer cyborg made out of kryptonite, and Metallo was created by Batman in the event that Superman ever needed to stop. And Metallo has gone rogue, so Batman had obviously been observing Superman for a while. He learns about his weakness to kryptonite, and Batman thinks if Superman ever turns evil, there's nothing any of us will ever be able to do to stop him. So he made a cyborg out of kryptonite with the sole intention of being used to kill Superman. But that cyborg goes rogue, and they have to work together to stop it. The villains in this film would be Metallo. And the post-credits is a scene taken right out of the comic books. Although altered a little bit, Batman is talking to Alfred. Superman is talking to Lois Lane. So they're apart from each other, and they're explaining why the other is the better hero and the better man. Superman is explaining to Lois why Batman is better than him, and Batman is explaining to Alfred why Superman is better than him. And we show that respect and drive home the tragedy of Batman's death because of it. Finally, our final film of Phase 3, Justice Society of America. This is the 20th film, the last one that I've planned out. And the plot here is that Superman calls a meeting at the Fortress of Solitude. He informs everyone that he is retiring from the Justice League, and he wants Supergirl to take his place as the symbol of hope for Earth. So he's like, Superman is going to step down. It's time for Supergirl to fill my shoes. After facing heavy losses, Dick Grayson, now assuming the mantle of Batman, thinks it would be a good idea to form a new super team and to create a more public-facing headquarters world to look to. So, Dick Grayson abandons Nightwing. He becomes Batman. This is something that happened in the comic books in the, I believe it was the Nightfall series of Batman comics, but Dick Grayson becomes Batman. And he's like, listen, we can't be hiding out in Antarctica. We need to be out in the public if we want to be this symbol of hope. Also, half the Justice League is dead or missing. The only remaining member of the Justice League is Green Lantern. It doesn't make sense to call ourselves the Justice League anymore. So he's like, let's dissolve the Justice League and let's create the Justice Society of America. So, Batman, who is now Dick Grayson, Green Lantern, Raven, Starfire, Supergirl, and Cyborg form a new team, the Justice Society of America, and they build a large tower in the middle of Civic City as their headquarters. Civic City, which is basically supposed to be like a Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. type city in DC Comics. The villains for this movie would be Solomon Grundy and the Ultra Humanite. Not big villains, but just something that would require teamwork, set them up, show them coming together as a new team. The post-credit scene for this, I didn't really flesh it out too heavily, but I think setting up a Vandal Savage storyline for Phase 4 and beyond. Vandal Savage is a big bad for the DC Comics, sort of like a Doctor Doom type figure for DC, and I think that Vandal Savage storyline could ultimately result in Superman returning older, black suit, beard, long hair, and then an older Wonder Woman coming back to help the Justice Society of America defeat Vandal Savage. But I didn't plan any of that out. So this would be what we lead into our Phase 4 with, which is like where Marvel is at currently. Obviously I did it in fewer films, 20 films, I think 20 films over 10 years, because DC is talking about wanting to do a 10-year plan, so release 2 films a year, one in Q1, one in Q4, every single year for 10 years, and you get this. I think this would be really good. This is the way I would run the DC Cinematic Universe if I was in charge. My heroes, these are the heroes I picked to represent my DC Cinematic Universe. There is 14 of them. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, The Flash, Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, The Martian Manhunter, Hal Jordan is Green Lantern, Shazam, Supergirl, Cyborg. Those are the 14 heroes I plucked out to be the heroes of my first 3 phases. Obviously, if I were to plan out a Phase 4 and beyond, we could bring in even more. Maybe in Phase 4 I bring in Aquaman, I don't know, but I omitted him because I felt like making him work and bringing Atlanteans could be tricky, so that is my DC Cinematic Universe. I know this is a super long video and something I have not done anything like this before, but I was super proud of this. I spent a ton of time making this presentation, thinking up these stories and these characters and how I'd make it all work, so I hope you guys like it. I hope this gets a good reception. It probably won't, but I would love to hear what you guys thought about all this in the comment section down below. Your thoughts on my plan, if you would change anything, if you liked the choices I make, I would love to hear the feedback on this. I put a ton of time and effort into it, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single day.